Knockout series are just different. There is a bigger crowd, a bigger venue, at the finals especially. The fans are louder, the stage is shaking, and some people can handle the pressure and some people can't. Also, best of fives are all about adapting. One loss doesn't mean anything. You can easily win the next 3 games. And some people deal with the tilt or the pressure differently, and C9 just deals with it better than everyone else does.
Welcome back to the LCS Summer 2023 Finals. It's C9 versus Energy, game number 1. A botched dive in top lane set the pace of the game to the tune of C9, and it never changed after.
It certainly didn't. But Sven had a very pertinent line in that shot that we just heard from him, in which he said, you can lose 1 game and it doesn't matter. He actually said win 1 game, but you can also
Close
lose.
enough.
Energy need to look at it from the other side. You can lose 1 game, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They have to get back on it, refocus on this series, because they have had some pretty heavy losses. They had an 18-minute loss yesterday and still were able to refocus in this series and close it out. So they have to repeat that here versus Cloud9 and close it down.
They've been stopped before. They lost way worse than that yesterday.
Exactly.
Well,
Today was a breeze.
we already have something different compared to yesterday. Yesterday, we saw the first 4 games played with the teams on the same sides of the rift. This time, it's immediately swapping. C9's over on the red, Energy's on the blue. This is where they played most of their games yesterday as well. They're first banning the Zeri that they themselves chose in the previous game. C9 is saying, we know Trist is high prio. We know you have first pick. Absolutely not.
No undefeated Maokai for Blabber as well. That's going to be...
stays undefeated.
Oh, true.
Either way now.
Yeah. It's gone, though. So they're taking away the Poppy again, which also was banned by them on blue side. Worried about Contracts potentially playing that. Going to be interesting to see what their final ban here is. Kai'Sa still up and available. Are they willing to give over that Kai'Sa?
Well, LeBlanc banned out. Poppy, Trist, Maokai, Zeri. Is it the Kai'Sa? Do we let that back onto the rift another time? Does C9 feel confident in their ability to deal with it?
I mean, if they give up the Kai'Sa, it's going to be Kai'Sa for Xayah trade, so maybe they just leave it open so they can kind of have that 1-for-1 trade.
Right.
I think if they ban 1, it could even be, you know, potential first pick of the Xayah, and then they wouldn't have as good of a trade, so I do think we're going to get Kai'Sa pretty much guaranteed.
And they want to respect the Azir from Palafox. They want to make sure he's not allowed to play that. And Dokla has really made a habit of farming booze from this audience with the Yuumi hover.
Why is Teemo now the loved champion?
Yeah, it's actually
Teemo used to be the most hated.
they brought out a worse champion.
Yeah.
It's called Yuumi.
Yeah,
That's
that's
why.
I see.
I think we're going to get maybe just a 20 Jace, to be honest, from Cloud9.
Yeah, I really do like the Jace for M&S especially here too, because it locks down the AD possibilities for you from the mid lane with them constantly banning out the Tristana and the Lucian pick. While it is theoretically good into it, it's hard to execute on.
Yeah, it is really hard to execute on. Okay, instead they're going to go for the kind of really powerful engaged duo here, Rakan as well as Rell. And I do think there's an opportunity now to just grab Jace on the side of Energy so you can have the AP Kai'Sa in the bot lane, and Jace has been great for Palafox.
And I kind of want to see Energy go for the Ivern again. It is such a good champion right now. Contracts is a very good Ivern player as well, and would be able to throw a different angle here in this series versus Cloud9 than we saw in number 1. It gives you so many more scaling options.
Oh, man. This dude's got the power of chug. Go, bro. Go, 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 go. Alistar's locked in, by the way. Go, go, go. Yes.
And the smash on the head
He
after.
tore his jacket with the flex.
Is that Corporate Mundo?
Corporate Mundo.
Let's go! That guy's having a good day.
Mundo chugs where he pleases. We've got the Alistar locked in to try to stop some of the Rell engages, and I would expect this Jace to get locked in for Palafox. Energy is going to be wielding the same 2 swords that Cloud9 had in the previous game.
There's some good swords, man. You got physical damage from the mid lane. You got the AP Kai'Sa down to that bot lane. You have the engage here with the Alistar. I want to see where do Cloud9 go. Do they go towards something like the Xayah? I feel like that makes the most sense here. That trade for Kai'Sa, I think, is really high prio, especially when they did grab the early Rakan, so they actually get the Lovers duo. Really a lot of strength there. It does mean that M&S may be targeted a bit more in picks and bans. He's going to be pushed down the list a bit, but there's a lot of AP champions you can mix in. They already have their physical damage with the Xayah, so I don't think Cloud9 is particularly concerned about the incoming bans.
Yeah, M&S definitely has had a pretty deep champion pool. The only thing that people critique him on is he has not played very much Azir. He only has one career Azir game, and that
It's
one's
banned,
self-banned
no
out
problem.
anyway.
There you go.
Taken care of. Problem already solved. Do they want to target that Ivern from Contracts, though? I'm curious if they're worried about that. Worried about the more traditional pick instead with that Sejuani. Going to take that off the table.
I love the signs, I gotta say. The sign game has been so good this year for LCS fans.
All right. Can they whittle down a bit more on this champion pool, playing into Jace? Do they feel like they need to protect themselves from an M&S Lucian or something like that?
K'Sante.
That can count as an M&S ban as well because of the amount of times that Cloud9 have flexed it here. Chovy having a pretty good K'Sante game himself earlier as well. But Cloud9, no reason not to continue to focus jungle.
The shade, man. All right, C9 taking their time thinking about it, running down the clock. The Rumble banned out, wanting to keep Dokla off of that powerful lane presence there in the top side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a strong pick for him. It can give him prio up through top, and it's been really working well for them. Yes, they lost their game on it here today, but with both the games they tried out yesterday, they were able to win.
And it's something that Cloud9 can't really use their red side counter pick advantage against because you can't really counter pick Rumble.
Blind.
So definitely worthwhile to get that one out of the way, especially seeing Energy already have the Alistar front line, so they don't have to put him on a tank. And they take away M&S, one of his favorite champions, the Ahri.
So I guess instead, let's see what we get here. They can't actually lock in the dog. The dog is not allowed to be picked right now. They're just hovering it for a second.
It's a good dog, Flowers.
Yeah, I like the dog. Don't get me wrong, but you can't lock the dog. It's illegal right now. No dogs allowed. But we do have the croc instead of the dog.
What kind of weird world? No dogs allowed, but crocodiles are allowed in.
Florida.
And cats, you know?
Well, we've got the Renekton locked in here for Fudge. The Jax is still up. This is one of those matchups that I would be excited to see Dokla have the confidence to lock this in.
But it would also be a big change for him and for Energy.
He never plays
so
it.
I don't think they're going to lock it in, even though a lot of players are comfortable locking the Jax into the Renekton and trying to play that skill game, that scale game as well. This is what I really wanted, what I called for earlier. The Ivern does get through and Contracts locks it in. So much power here with the Daisy right now. Daisy plus Alistar allows them to move in. They can make much earlier use of that Jace Kai'Sa.
Oh, he's going to go for it, okay.
Let's do it.
So he hasn't played it at all in playoffs. He's not been one of our big Jax guys. He does have 2 plays on it in the regular season, but not something that I really associate with Dokla whatsoever.
I do give him a little bit more leeway and kind of my vote of confidence because he also had not pulled out too much Rumble and then had really good Rumble games and has shown consistency on the champion. So maybe he was also hiding the Jax.
Let's find out. Annie would be a bit of a throwback. We haven't really seen Annie much at all lately. Was super popular earlier this year, where it was like basically 100% pick ban. There is just so much engage now on the Cloud9 side. That is an overwhelming amount of engage between the Rakan, between the Rel, as well as the Annie. You know, flanks potentially coming through from that Renekton. So you have got to really make sure you are on point. There's good poke over on the Energy side, but if you step a toe too far forward, you are going to get engaged on, you're going to get locked down, you're going to get burst out.
Yeah, it feels like that's what Cloud9 is saying is the answer to the Jace and Kai'Sa that we saw them play so oppressively with in the previous game, is just everybody has a go button. Well, everybody but Xayah has a go button, and they're just going to dogpile them.
And
Xayah has Ghost.
back to the...
All right, she has a ghost button.
That's close enough.
Even in the inception of League of Legends, at the very creation of the game, always the best counter to those poke teams, those long-range teams, is the hard engage. To pair with that hard engage, you have to look for sweeping out flank wards, not hesitating on your moments, because if you hesitate, you get poked out a couple times and start to lose health, then your options get further and further down the drain, and it becomes much more of an issue.
Absolutely, you have to be decisive in those situations, and we'll see if Cloud9's going to be able to do it. And on the other side, the Ivern could be a wrench in the gears of Cloud9, something that is good at absorbing those engage, sometimes deflecting them. And so that's going to be the job here for Contracts, trying to keep his carries safe with Ignar alongside him, trying to disengage when Cloud9 is looking for it. We'll see if Energy can bounce back in game number 2.
let's rock and roll. Game number 2. The sides are swapped. It is Energy playing from the blue side. They've got the Jace, they've got the Kai'Sa, they've got the Poke. Cloud9 has invested all in on Engage, and they're gonna see if they can just close the distance faster than Energy can react. I'm excited to see what we get out of this one, as early on, looks like C9 is just grouping up top here. They know that Energy in the previous game wanted to try to do that tricky invade where they baited him into thinking it was something it wasn't. But now, with no PvP happening just yet, we're gonna toss down to Gabby, who's standing by with an interview with C9 coach Mithy.
Thank you. All right, Mithy, I just want to know a bit about how Cloud9 was approaching this match. It's not the first rodeo of coming through the winner's bracket and getting to see Energy perform yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, Energy definitely stepped up. They've played new champions. They're, trying new things and definitely pushing us. So excited.
Switching things up, even flipping sides of the map. How's Cloud9 feeling in terms of all the engage that you've brought to the table? We should be in for a scrap, huh?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're playing their kiteback comp this game, and we're playing the engage comp, so it's just about who is going to, be able to kite back better or engage better. So
see if we can lock them down. All right, best of luck in game number 2. Let's get to it.
And as we get to it, it's an immediate 2v2 at level 1. Xayah and Rakan, pretty adept at this. It looks like it won't be anything more.
Zven goes in, but it was kind of a nice dodge there on the grand entrance from Zven stepping forward. Also worth noting that Berserker is playing heal. Both these teams are actually fighting so heavily for level 2, by the way. This could be a scrap immediately on level 2.
Let's see, Berserker and
C9's giving it up.
Nope, yeah, Energy having the advantage on this one. They can push him back.
So Contracts is actually doing the Ivern route where you end towards the opposite side as well. He's channeled all 3 of his blue quadrant, then on down to the Raptors and Reds, and will come through with his smite at Krugs. So he will end pretty early. Ivern has a very fast first clear if it's uninterrupted and unharassed, and he could end on the bottom side and look for something off of this lane.
It's why the Ivern pick can be so deadly in a jungle meta with things like Rell and Sejuani. These aren't early, powerful counter junglers. These aren't going to try to get in your face and mess with him, stop that camp setups, try to slow him down at all. In Contracts, you can see him marching back down through here, says hello to the chickens, picks up that Grove. Dokla taking early control over the wave, misses the cannon and takes the turret shot. You hate to see it. Top laners avert your eyes.
Yeah, that's rough, because now you start getting nervous, right? When you're playing against a resourceless champion like Renekton, you need to bounce the wave. You need to get it in. When you take that one turret shot, it can make it really risky to do so, especially if you don't have eyes on Blabber, which no one has spotted him just yet. And that's why Contracts is going to take his time, move into the enemy jungle, and see if he can find out where Blabber is.
And Blabber knows Ivern with that quick clear will be harassing him, so that's why Cloud9, Cloud9 put the ward at the entrance to that river there, so they did see him come in, and Blabber's able to finish off the Gromp.
Yep, Contracts immediately placing the Grove on the Scuttle Crab, then ready to smite it as Blabber goes over the wall with a crash down. Contracts is there and waiting. Both mid laners rotating over. M&S has the health advantage, so Energy's got to be a little bit careful about that one. Palafox gets stunned up as he tries to go back into his own jungle, but now the accelerated shock blast, flash to the skies. M&S is on the run. Contracts ready to chase. They turn their attention back over onto Blabber. C9 lose their jungler. It's first blood over to Palafox.
And that's why you go for invades on your pushing lanes. The bottom pushing lane of Energy. Ignar is the difference maker. They had the minion wave pushed up. That allows the Alistar to join the fight, coming through the river. And look at this call. You can see it right now on the minimap. He's coming up already. So that's why Palafox and Contracts stay in this fight. Palafox goes in, even flashes for it. They land that root collar, which allows the easy dash for Ignar to get there. And the first blood goes to the single best place there for Energy, onto the Jace to really get him snowballing.
Meanwhile, up top side, Fudge has regained his footing in the 1v1 after getting shoved in early, as you would expect that Renekton to be able to do. And he's feeling just fine in that 1v1 matchup. Still just the gold advantage, pretty much being the first blood that was earned for Energy. Dokka's gonna make up any sort of deficit in that by farming up most of these minions underneath the turret.
But he'll always remember that -1 at the tower.
Yeah.
Cannons live rent-free in your head.
Forever.
Yeah, that is terrible, but he's just going to try to collect this wave. He's obviously very low on resources here. You can't stay in that extended lane against a Renekton for too long, but a nice backstep there on the Q from Fudge allows him to go forward. He wants to clear out this wave, have as good of a buy as possible, but he can't actually. Now Fudge is 6. He's got to run.
Yeah, Fudge getting dominance there makes it such a serious threat, especially because Jax is so low on mana. Even if the Counter-Strike was off cooldown, he wouldn't be able to cast it. So he has to back all the way off. That feels really bad for Dokla. At least he's able to return, grab his Sheen on the first buy. Pretty big power spike for Jax on that one, at least for the early phases of the game. And Contracts is right back to pathing through that top side of the jungle again. You can see him just hitting level 5 there.
Now, from the game plan for Cloud9, I want to zoom out and see if they're going to ever be able to unlock mid lane, as bottom lane they're trading already.
Wow, we've FBI already been forced to flash off of that one. Meanwhile, in mid, it's Palafox using that lead that he has thanks to the first blood, trying to put the pressure on M&S.
Yeah, Ignar combos in, but Sven has the presence of mind, just goes right back towards FBI, and FBI knows if he gets charmed up there, then it's going to be the root from the Xayah to follow it up, so felt he had to flash. M&S does have 6, he's going.
Oh, he wanted to go in, but he missed everything. Palafox is ready to turn it around. M&S going to be knocked away as Palafox has to disengage now. Even though Tivers, the initial cast missed, the AoE damage, the immolation, that pseudo Sunfire cape still poses enough of a threat that Energy doesn't go forward.
Really good flash from Contracts, though. Was very quick to respond on that flash. M&S went for the flash W. Didn't have the range to actually connect. Contracts had flashed out in time, so he's going to get away there to safety. And even if your W doesn't connect on anything, you lose the stun charges from that. But Dokla now potentially in trouble.
Let's see if they can get him. Blabber and Fudge, the 2v1. You would think this would work out in their favor, but no. Dokla just drops the ulti, hits him with the stick, says, I'm leaving.
And the reason why Dokla went this way and went so deep is because he had a minion wave at tower. Fudge is saying, oh man, we're going to try and chase this Jax. The Jax has flash. All my minions are dying at my tower right now, and Energy are getting Dragon.
Nicely played from Energy as a whole. Dokla being the bait, while Energy lands the Drake on the other side of the river. They're up 800 gold in the first objective at 7 minutes. Awesome difference in early games compared to what we saw in game 1.
Fudge at the very least will get a play back here. Starts his recall just in range of that tower, so grabs a play for himself. While Energy does take a slight gold lead, you know, they have the early Dragon. We'll see if they can keep this momentum up, moving in towards that mid game. I think Palafox getting off on the right foot is so big for this team because he really has been a spark plug for them. He makes aggressive moves. He really is a catalyst for a lot of the action alongside Contracts, and I think having him in a winning position where Contracts has a clear lane to play around, where they can look for 2v2s, is critical of their success.
Exactly. This team looks completely different night and day when their mid and jungle is ahead versus those games where they're at a deficit. We saw in game number 1 the latter, where it looks like when they're at a deficit, and it ain't pretty.
Well, Contracts and Palafox are feeling good in this one. The Rift Herald has spawned. We'll see if they want to commit themselves to that now as well. You can see Blabber's also up on that part of the map. Dokla getting the push. Also, one big difference here in this game compared to game number 1. Dokla's not running an Ignite. In game number 1, once they fell behind, it was even harder to answer Cloud9's macro plays because they were down that extra summoner spell. But this time around, Dokla's going to be ready for that. He'll be able to continue to match Fudge inside lanes throughout the game. Fudge, Blabber, and M&S coming up here. It looks like we might get ourselves a 3v3.
This could be a 5v5.
Everybody is making their way up. C9 is going to have all 5 men here first. Contracts going over the wall. Nicely done. They bait out the Magnet Storm from Blabber. That is a huge cooldown for C9 not to have. Sven is still going to go in, looking for the quickness. Dokla may be your target here, but he drops the Counter-Strike and flashes away. Sven ready for the follow-up, but nobody else is with them. Daisy leading the charge. Voidseeker only hits the Rift Herald. C9 gets chased off. They use their 2 biggest engage mechanisms along with the Dominus. Even though Energy didn't have to do anything back, they still have everything in the tank. They win by default.
Some critical flashes from the solo laners of Energy. First, Palafox on that Rel ultimate that you talked about, him flashing that critical, not to get caught there. And then Dokla as well, flashing this engage, the secondary one over the wall too. Even though flashes are longer cooldowns, those 5-minute big cooldowns, it is less combat power than losing those other ultimates and those other attempts at the engages. So Energy with some very expensive and yet very worthwhile investments there.
Absolutely, and it was flash for flash from Blabber. You know, he went for that Q flash, it was responded to. Contracts also a really good job hitting the root caller onto the blue buff to escape over the wall on that ultimate that would have grabbed him and pulled him back in. So, in a nice place here by Energy. They're getting the objectives, they're creating the gold lead, and we'll see if they can keep this up. Now having that Herald to drop, I want to see where they go. I do think putting it mid lane is the most standard, but honestly, if you can get Jax out of Renekton, that can really pay dividends in the side lanes.
Yeah, it's not quite at the values that we saw at the previous game, the opposite direction, but if Energy gets a lot of value out of that Herald, more than just the 1.5 plates that you usually get from the first one, they could have a lead equal to what we saw from Cloud9 in game number 1, which is absolutely huge to bounce back.
Sven's little quote about winning one game and it might not matter is coming more and more true here. And this is why a lot of people love these teams, how much action they bring, but also how from one game to the next, they can correct a lot of those mistakes and have a completely different look from draft to gameplay as well.
It's also been interesting, Palafox clearly respecting, M&S in this matchup, went for a really defensive setup. He went for resolve secondary, took second wind as well as unflinching, rushed Merc Treads, has Biscuit delivery, went D-shield, has perfect timing for the stopwatch. Like, he is taking all the defensive runes here to make sure he's not getting 100-0'd in some of the CC that Cloud9 has.
And he knows exactly what the win con of Cloud9 is. It's that hard engage. So it's a respect for M&S and for Blabber and for Sven coming to his lanes, because we have seen multiple 3-person attempts towards the mid lane. Those Merc Treads, very, very high value, definitely. And we will see, can NRG finish this one out and actually scale to success, though, because Cloud9, we have also seen them be able to just flip that switch, especially when they have this much CC on their team, to be able to win teamfight after teamfight and just fight their way back in.
I think that Herald timer on the scoreboard is accurate. It's running out. They took it close to the 8-minute mark. They're going to need to drop that soon on Energy's side if they want to get anything out of it. You can see Contracts hanging around mid, trying to get an opportunity to use it right now, as Fudge and Blabber are going for the 2v1 on Dokla underneath the turret. He finally pops the counter-strike here, looking for a lot of damage back onto the Croc, but Dominus gives him plenty of HP to guarantee they get what they came for. C9 making the play in top side, and they're going to get paid for it.
Cloud9 just played that so well. You just stand directly on top of the Jax, and you force him to use that counter-strike, because you can't always react once the stun is going to come through. And if the Shattering Strike or the stun from the Renekton comes through first, you're going to die 100-0. But they don't pull turret aggro before you use it. As soon as Dokla spends it, you are dead to rights if you can't just 100-0 the Renekton from that spot. So Cloud9, really clean dive up on the top side, putting Fudge ahead on the Renekton. It will be an objective trade, though, down on that bottom side. Another Dragon going the way of NRG, and we'll have to find out what is the soul going to be.
Let's see here. Hold on. Contracts and Daisy will be able to take care of this. Come on, get rid of it.
I would say
like
Infernal is what you're hoping for with this Pokemon.
You definitely don't want the Gas Dragon. All right, they
Also
got
really
the Hex Tech. That is a huge one. Pretty much every team comp loves to get this Drake stacked towards this Soul, so that'll be a win con for Energy.
That's what I was going to say, is the premium pick for poke comps, because then your poke is also going to be able to land that slow. Then your opponent has a harder time dodging, the other person's poke, Palafox or FBI, whoever landed the first one. So this is actually massive if they can continue to control the bottom side of the map. But that is a big if.
Yep.
Because Cloud9, they willingly gave up Dragon number 2 to go for that top dive play, and they got a bunch of money for it. So they've chopped down on that gold lead very, very significantly. It almost doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I mean, Fudge is now 1,500 gold ahead in that 1v1 on top side, right? They've taken so many plates. He is really going to be that source of strength for Cloud9. In fact, he's actually the richest person in the game right now. So they're going to be counting on the fact that Fudge and M&S are both going to have a level 11 for this next Dragon. They're going to be looking to fight around it and utilize them as these massive points of power.
Energy need to work around that fact. Thankfully for them, they have a lot of answers for a Renekton.
Yeah.
In team fighting, it is very hard to fight as Renekton if you do not have your flash, especially against an Ivern and an Alistar here, both with a lot of peel options for the Cloud9, for the Energy carries, excuse me. So Fudge will have to be very protective of his flash, need that if they want to win the team fight, as well as still having a hard time navigating through all of that peel to the backline.
Want to point out something that is similar to game number 1 here in the Kai'Sa builds. You can see the lost chapter in the inventory of FBI. Isaac, you pointed out how normally the Kai'Sas like to go for the Nashor's Tooth second, but when you feel like you don't get the chance to get off those auto attacks, it's better to go for the Ludens. I feel like that's the call here. That's the recognition from FBI too, saying if I'm in range to auto attack, they're in range to engage, and that's not the play.
Exactly. It's so risky when you do step forward. Yes, you're going to be looking for auto attacks later in the fight. You don't want to only be using spells, but it kind of has to be after a lot of the major engagements engage tools have been used by Cloud9, or you're going to be putting yourself in that position that you could get 100 to 0'd, because it's going to be all pressure on Cloud9 to find those engages as Contract's up top side.
Yeah, we got Fudge having to get away from this one, but Dominus has been cast. Energy bringing in the backup. Contracts misses that follow-up root caller, but Ignar's there to make it happen, and Palafox is getting paid. The Goon Squad has found Fudge, and Energy hits them where they're strongest.
Yeah, you can say that again. They brought 4 members in Cloud9 now trying to rotate up and answer Blabber here at the crab, but you're going to have to give that one up, Bubby.
Blabber disengaging. Energy also only used the Jax ultimate there. They still have everything else ready to go.
They used both the summoners off Ignar as well, so he did commit the flash and the ignite, so definitely did commit a fair bit, plus the TP from Palafox. But at the same time, C9 is potentially looking to fight, but MNS isn't here. This is pretty risky. They're going to TP him in.
Ignar over the wall. TP coming in. Fudge is ready to join the fight now, but there is no Dominus for the Renekton. FBI's back in the mid lane still. Rift Herald at about 5,000 HP. Ignar still looking for a chance to come in from the side. The Herald is going to be secured by Energy. They get the eyeball with no contest.
I love the utilization there of the Ivern brushes, right? They're actually just pulling out the Herald, putting the brushes all around it, so there's not even a chance for Blabber to go in and get that smite steal because he doesn't have vision on it.
Also, on the bottom side there, they actually don't commit MNS to finishing off that tower. So bottom side tower still standing for Energy as well.
It's barely there.
That counts, it's still standing.
The wind blows a little bit stronger than normal. It's gone. But for now, it remains. Fudge going to knock down the tier 1 up there in the top lane. Equalize the turret count at 1-1 between the teams. Still a 1.3 thousand gold lead for the side of Energy. It's just about 60 seconds until that next Drake spawns. So I want to go back to what you guys were talking about earlier. Hold on, I'm not even going to have the chance. Dokla's getting caught out. They drop both the ultis, but the Jax with the leap strike ready to get away. Fudge tries to chase after him. Dokla just walked away from him. So let's go back to what I was about to say right before it happened. The ultis, the level 11s from Renekton and Annie, so big for the upcoming dragon fight, they just shot him against the wall.
Now that they're not going to have them, the cooldowns are actually too long at this point. It will come up shortly after the dragons do spawn, but Energy, if they just start this up on spawn, Fudge and MS are not going to be that effective in this fight, and giving up that third strike dragon gets pretty dicey.
Yeah, and Dokla knew it. As soon as it happened, he's spamming emote after emote after emote here. Tongue out, walks away, doesn't have to blow his flash, just leap strikes, and we will see NRG. That is exactly what they wanted. Kind of a gift wrap here. Now, next step, of course, is to do the dirty work, clear out the wards here.
Yep.
So you have full control through the river. They're even going to pop second Rift Herald here, so it takes down that tower and further pushes Cloud9 back. Teleport out for some tempo here down to the bottom side of the map.
They do have to get the Herald in range of the turret. They don't want it to just die without charging. There we go. All right, that's the third turret of the game for Energy. All 3 of the enemy tier 1s now reduced to rubble.
And we'll see if Cloud9 is going to be able to get any vision. They need to get vision in that bot side river, so they're trying to play through mid, push up mid, then move into the river. But it's very difficult when there's this firing line here from Kai'Sa and Jace that are going to harass you at every turn.
Blabber stepping up. Dokla trying to guard the flank and mark Fudge. Dokla engages on the enemy jungler. Counter-strike has been used, so they got to be careful now. They don't want Jax to have to enter into the fight without that available to use. Daisy summoned up another Void Seeker. Connects onto Blabber, the enemy frontliner. Taken now below half HP. Healed up a little bit by Rakan.
Is MNS going for a teleport play? They're recalling multiples right now.
All right,
I think they're just giving it.
They've got the Tibbers and the Dominus both ready to go, but it looks like, no, they're just going to surrender this Drake. Energy, move on to Soul Point. Not even 19 minutes into the game.
Yeah, well handled there by Energy. They don't need to commit to anything. The longer the fight drags out, the better it is for them. Just keep poking and prodding, and Cloud9 didn't feel that they were going to have an angle. They don't have the flash there on Fudge. They couldn't get any sort of a flank angle from Sven or MNS. And I think if you just run straight at this Energy composition, it's going to go really bad for you.
It's always so risky to play that side of the matchup when your opponents have the range advantage. Always way easier for them to sit back, kite back, especially when you get an early lead like Energy did. And it's really big for Energy to show that they can play this other type of game, this slower paced game where they are the long range, they are the kite back. rather than what we've seen basically all summer long, where they are going crazy, fighting all the time, forcing so many things. This is one of the most controlled energy games that we've seen all year.
Absolutely, and I think the key thing you're talking about is the fact that they're able to establish this lead, and now Blabber in trouble.
Blabber getting engaged, John, but he pops the Magnet Storm. He has the Aftershock. He's rail. He's very difficult to kill. Palafox going in for the solo kill attempt on Jimenez. Flashes forward, deep auto attack. Palafox kills him off before Fudge is able to reinforce.
Timbers?
He even uses the stopwatch. Timbers is still just standing there. Redemption coming out from Contracts. Palafox goes to the skies, and Fudge cannot finish the job. Palafox stepping back up as the Root Caller flies out, and Palafox is reinforced with the shield. They're ready to try to finish the kill. Daisy throws him up, and Contracts smacks him down. Energy get 2 for nothing.
Palafaker heard us talking about a lack of action, took matters into his own hands. The god of Hextech lays down the hammer, and look at this beating.
Nicely done here by Palafox in the bot lane, flashing forward. He knows with the TP coming in from Fudge, the only way out is forward. Goes in, perfectly timed stopwatch, delaying the stun. Then Contract's able to get in range for the Redemption to buy even more time, and he just has to kite it out. This is so well played. Every time Fudge is stepping forward, he disengages with that hammer form knockback, making sure Fudge has no chance to finish him off.
And isn't even greedy, doesn't even, that's the real life emote we saw from Dokla. Tongue out in the faces of him. He even gives his kill over to his Ivern, the support that came to save his life. Now the Baron, though.
All right, Blabber would have to make a hero play to steal this one away. But if he goes in, it's a one-way trip. Baron at 5,000 HP. Energy with control over the objective. All the brushes down in the pit, making it even harder for C9 to know what's going on. Beautifully done from Ignar to knock Blabber away. The Baron is burned down, but can Energy escape the pit? Dokla's at half HP. He's going in for the stun. He's found Berserker, who goes up into the air. The feathers fly. Palafox goes to the skies. Berserker's going to be taken low. He finally dies. Fudge with a shutdown back into Palafox. Both the carries on Energy are dead. Ignar with a flash back out over the wall. C9 cleans up 3.
Cloud9 do it again. The team fighting takes over from way behind against Energy. They're able to fight their way out of the pit. They get 3 kills there and keep their hopes in this game alive.
And it's key, if you trap yourself inside a pit here, inside the Baron pit, exactly what the hard engage team wants. Even though they keep Blabber out for the smite, look at this engage. Fudge knows he's massive, and Sven goes in, gets the double charm into knockup. Even though Berserker gets cut off initially, he's able to get his Xayah ult off for a bunch of damage. He dies, then they're still all trapped inside of the pit with that amount of damage.
His repositioning there, though, was great. He uses Xayah ult, then he flashes to the opposite side of the pit, forcing Energy to fight through the Renekton, through the Annie, through all of these tools, you know, that are going to really defend him.
So, I will say, the 2 Baron buffs remaining are very advantageous for Energy because one of them survived is on the split pusher. It's on the Jax. That means you can still pull off that 1-4 Baron split and have both waves enchanted. We've got the next Drake in 60 seconds. It will still be an Energy Baron at that point. I want to see how they play around this and how they set up for it.
Yeah, it's definitely still an overall advantage for Energy because the gold is about even on it, a plus 200 there so far for the Baron play because they got the 1 kill back, they killed the Baron itself, and now it's about how much extra they can get with it. Like you're talking about, really does help on playing the entire map, on that split push, which sets you up for the Dragon. 33 seconds left on this one. Guess what? That is a very, very early Hex Soul. We talked about how good a Hex Soul is for a long-range team that can poke you out and apply it so easily.
And remember, no summoners on Berserker, no summoners on Sven for this fight because they spent them at that Baron, and Jax is pushing top here, looking to pressure the base because there's no TPs for Cloud9, so no one can actually go back and respond. If Fudge goes up there, then they're going to get a free Dragon Soul here from Energy, so Fudge can only go to mid, and Cloud9 is going to have to just start the Dragon instantly and potentially rush this. I'm a little bit surprised to see Dokla basing, though. I guess he just wants to play for the Soul. He's not going to look to split push.
He's ready to come in. Ignar also looking for a flank angle on C9. Sven gonna step up, check the tri-brush. Fudge has already arrived. Dokla coming in for the TP into the pit. The Drake itself down to 3,000 HP. They're looking to burn it as the helicopter finds its way into the back line of C9. A lot of damage on him and that's, but he ain't gonna be killed off just yet. FBI barely keeping himself alive. Palafox finally getting the kill back on the Annie as Dokla occupies 3. He looks for the stun. Berserker goes up into the air. He stays alive for now. Renekton's trying to tear through him, but he ain't got the damage. He can't do it.
Palafox on his side!
Now, Palafox finds Berserker. He's found the enemy carry. C9 still tries to fight it, but Fudge is running out of cooldowns. They're after FBI. They may just get it, but no! Energy save triple kill for the Jays, and an ace for Energy.
And Palafox is teleporting topside. He's going to take down this inhibitor. Massive, massive stuff from the mid laner of NRG.
Remember the name, it's Palafox, and he comes up huge again for Energy, gets the triple kill, finds the flash over the wall to take out Berserker, and may have just done enough damage to secure this second game.
Critically, the one thing that C9 got there was the Drake. There's no soul for Energy just yet, so it's not entirely doom and gloom, but let's watch this fight one more time.
So, Cloud9, as you can see, they go for the engage on the enemy jungler when the dragon is low, so at least they can deny that soul. They do get the dragon with the blade collar from Berserker, but the flank from Dokla does so much work on that bottom side, and you see him force out Berserker, force out the rest of Cloud9, and Palafox flanking around that top side of the blue jungle so that he can get this route in to assassinate Berserker and take down Cloud9.
Was so incredibly well played there from Palafox. The presence of mind to look around the side from that angle. Cloud9 lost track of him. They didn't realize where the Jace had gone in that moment, and he gets the accelerated shock blast. He flashes over the wall, finishes them off, and you can see the frustration on Fudge's face. He knows how big that fight was for NRG. That was the moment Cloud9 needed to get a big win and try to close this gold lead.
And so much props to Dokla as well. He has had a rough bit in summer, but has been so good in playoffs for NRG here. And him on that Jax, getting the flank initially with 3 members, surviving it with the stopwatch that he went back to buy, by the way, before the teleport, and then going there for the re-engage. Really big stuff from the solo laners here of NRG.
On the opposite side, you guys talked earlier in the game about Fudge being the one who was the point of power for C9. He was the one who would need to do some
Long
carry work.
flank.
Let's see if M&S can find the angle here on Palafox. Goes for it, they won't get the stun. Palafox getting away. Dokla keeping Berserker occupied. They're still going in for Palafox. He's going to be kept alive for now. Re-engaged to the skies. FBI coming around from the side. He takes out Fudge, and Dokla survives in the meantime. Blabber stuck in the middle of 3. He's gone. Palafox unstoppable as C9 is now stuck in a 3v5.
Yeah, Cloud9 are in trouble, and M&S dropped the ball there on that engage. He needed to use the Tibbers first before the W. The Tibbers had the range to get the stun. The W is shorter range. He went for the W instead. Whiffs on that, meaning that the Tibbers doesn't stun because he used his charges.
Edge of Night coming up big as well there with the block. 8 kills here for Palafox, keeps that bounty safe. All right, let's see. Can Cloud9 do anything? Baron's coming up soon, and it looks like NRG are gonna head right over for their ticket.
They're ready to go. They got the brushes again. They've got control, and they've got C9 nowhere close by. Blabber and Fudge both taking the Hex Gate into their own side of the jungle. The Baron not being burned down exceptionally quickly, but Cloud9 also not moving anywhere closer. Baron goes over to Energy now for the second time. This time, though, it doesn't cost him any lives to do it. They're going to have it for the next 3 minutes. It's only 70 seconds until the Drake Soul spawns again. Things are quickly becoming borderline impossible for Cloud9 to find a winning play.
And we're seeing how important these little item buys are right before the big plays. Going back for Dokla to get the stopwatch for initially for that dragon fight. Then Palafox getting so rich off that dragon fight to be able to get the Edge of Night, to be able to have the spell block there. And now with the Baron buff, here comes the siege to end it.
Dokla pushing mid, everybody else pushing top. Daisy being the 4.5 man with this squad, leading the charge.
Daisy, I'll give Daisy 2/3 of the person.
Okay, all right. Daisy's in there.
She got buffed.
Well, she's not anything now. She got deleted there by C9. So Energy's going to back it away. It's 25 seconds until the Drake. I feel like that's got to be the priority. You're going to go ahead and see the recall, and there it is. There's another stopwatch. FBI purchasing that. The Zhonya's purchased for Dokla, so he's going to have another stasis to use in this next fight as well. All active items on contracts is Ivern. We've seen the Redemption and the Shirellias used so many times so far this game already.
And critically, there are some wards here for Cloud9. We'll see if they do get swept out, but these wards could be those flanking wards potentially here for the Renekton, who has that TP available. But M&S is still up on the top side. He's got to get down there. They're just going to give it up, I guess, is the call.
It's gone. There's no way you can do this without the Annie. Energy's just going to secure it for free. And there it is, Hex Soul for Energy.
All right, Cloud9 had made the call. Our last hope is a base defense at the inhibitor towers. maybe Energy will give us an angle and we can get a miracle team fight.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you give up Soul, you're playing for Elder, and that's basically it, right? You're not going to leave your base again until that potentially spawns. You try to hold on here, but it's going to be so hard. They have very little vision outside their base, and if you can find good angles for FBI, for Palafox, you can soften Cloud9 up incredibly before that fight does actually break out.
And I do believe the other additional issue, Baron is going to be respawning 30, 45 seconds before the Elder does. So if you're only going to fight for Elder, you're going to have to deal with an Energy that also has Baron again at the time. As Energy continue their 4-1. Dokla very powerful on this Jax. Level 17 versus the level 14 of Fudge's Renekton that has not been able to translate that early power, that early massive lead that he had into a victory game condition here for C9.
Okay, Cloud9 have defended at their inhibitor turrets here almost long enough. One more minion wave to deal with here with only 20 seconds on the Baron buff.
Daisy's summoned up though. They're ready to try to push this, try to pressure this. Dokla's making his way over just in case C9 goes for the engage. Flashes are ready all over the place. Energy does not want to overcommit. They don't want to throw this game away now. They got to make sure they're using this lead, using this pressure. You don't just want to allow Cloud9 time to scale up, catch up, make that gold lead more and more irrelevant. The Baron push will be denied. C9 holds the line.
They do hold on, and while it is always a concern to give your team, the opposing team, too much time, there's still a lot of room to grow as far as itemization is concerned for Energy. No one's capped out just yet, so it's not really that big of a worry just yet. They are going to be likely just getting back out on the map, playing through sides with this Jax, looking to prepare for these next neutral objectives. If Cloud9 gives them an opportunity, they'll be happy to take a fight, but I think Cloud9 is going to be on the back foot here for quite a long time.
Lots of items just picked up there. Imperial Mandate for the Ivern. Cyrilda's Grudge for the Jace, so everything's going to be slowing even more than it was already with the Hex Soul. Knight's Vow picked up for Ignar on that Alistar too. Berserker trying to get away from mid lane here as Contracts pop. The Shirelli is trying to catch up to him. Shock Blast does not tag Sven. He can get away in time with the Battle Dance. It's 2 minutes until the Baron. It's 3.5 until the Elder. C9 are going to have to decide what they want to fight for. Berserker going after the red buff here. Sven, got to be careful as he tries to step back a little bit.
Ignar could engage.
They're bringing Renekton over as well.
Ignar goes in for the engage. They find the knockup on a Berserker. Ignar looking to tank these guys up here in the front line for now as Dokla goes in for the counter-strike. Berserker's forced to ult here very early. Dokla going to be locked down, but he survives thanks to the Zhonya's Hourglass. Berserker's still very low. Palafox on the side. That's it. They found Berserker. They found Sven. They found M&S. They found the game. Energy are not going to let this be a sweep. They're going to mop the floor with Cloud9 in game 2. 16-5. Let's go. Energy's ready to go in this one.
Palafaker leading the charge. Massive performance from him. And Energy strike back in game 2.
Cloud9 just got told it's not gonna be that easy. Energy ready to give us a series, give us a show, and give us a final here in the Prudential Center.
Energy always steps up when you least expect it. As soon as you count them out, that's when they perform the best. Cloud9 was looking for that perfect undefeated playoffs run. It's not gonna happen. We're tied up, and we're headed to game number 3.
They got so many things out of the adjustments that they made in draft as well here for Energy. They bring out the Jax that Dokla had not been playing. They bring back that Ivern that we were looking for Contracts. And Palafox, another exceptional performance on the Jace to really bring it home for them.
And I'm now so interested about the adjustments going into game 3 because I do think in this series, both teams are going to prioritize blue side. Tristana has shown that it's going to be banned out constantly. I think the next champion that's really going to be rising in priority is that Jace. Because the Jace is that physical damage pairing with the Kai'Sa. Are they going to be letting that go through? Will it be taken away? What are the changes that these teams are going to make? Because Palafox, when he's playing something aggressive, when he's playing something with agency to create action, to create plays, and when he's supported by his team, he can really be a game changer. I mean, this is some of the best League of Legends we have ever seen him play. I think he's stepping up at the right time and really making Energy fans believe that they could win.
Do you believe?
You gotta keep the faith. You gotta keep the faith.
Not too much.
It's a tied
Not too
series.
much.
Yep. Gotta keep it careful though. You gotta be careful with it. It's a tied series. Let's head on over to the LCS Lounge to break it all down.
Thank you so much, Flowers. Kobe over there, shilling out the faith left and right as best he can. NRG making sure that LCS fans will have to wait at least another split to see that undefeated championship run, handing the first loss of the postseason to Cloud9. And I want to start straight away by taking a look at the most pivotal team fight in this one and get the player perspective with the comms of both teams. Take a look.
I'm gonna flash on Ivern, okay?
Okay, we should fight. We should fight, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna flash on Ivern. Hey guys, let me die, okay? Yep.
Tipping. Hey, TP here. Alsa's here, guys.
10 seconds, my flash.
Alsa, hashtag
Yeah.
okay. Hey, you want to 2K?
Look,
Go,
look,
go, go.
look, look, Guys, Kaiser.
Jax. Jack, look Jax. Look Jax. Jack.
Okay.
Jax, look Jax. Look Jax.
Kaiser can't fight. Kaiser can't fight.
Hey, look Jax, guys.
Yeah, W still. Look at me,
Jax,
guys.
guys, look Jax.
Ivern flash.
Look Alistar. Just in front, okay? Look Alistar.
W, 2 seconds, W.
Hey, here.
Okay, punch. I stun him.
Kaiser,
Big time,
Kaiser,
big time.
Kaiser. Try run, guys.
Can't run. Kaiser flash. Kaiser flash there for sure.
Hold your position.
Yeah, I'll say Derek. If you link Q.
Guys, watch me and hold your position.
Okay.
Rakan is blocking me. I'm going out. I'm going out.
I chip it.
I'm taking portal. I'm taking portal.
Okay.
Layton is here.
Just fight.
Yo, Annie, guys, Annie.
Annie. Killing Annie nice flash.
Yeah. Just on top watch.
I'm kiting back.
Yeah.
Annie dead. Okay.
Hit front.
You're Zuko, you're way far. You're really far. Can you hop out?
Yo, Renekton!
Yeah, looking berserker.
80 knows nothing, I think.
Yeah, 80 dead.
Let me Q to you. Let me Q to you.
Okay. Play together.
Wait.
Renekton is only 1 damage. They on me? Yeah, looking.
Nice! Okay, go top. Yeah. Go top.
I mean, you heard Azael saying it. This is some of the best League of Legends that we've been treated to this year in the LCS, and it's so cool to listen to both teams and how they're navigating, every micro interaction within that fight.
I liked how both teams were quite calm, actually. Even C9 after the loss, not getting too down, and then even Palafox just calmly being looking berserker.
Yeah. I didn't even hear it the first time.
About to win the game. and he just pulls it off. He was cold.
Yeah, another voice we heard a lot from is Ignar, actually.
Yes.
And we talked about how he had a really strong series yesterday. He actually had this initial roam to kind of start off of their bot side pressure that kind of started the initial NRG snowball in the early game that I thought was actually really important and allowed what would have been a 2v2 with Blabber coming to mid and Contracts coming to mid. Ignar was the difference maker in that first blood.
He's a really loud voice in the team, and I really enjoyed the setup to the fight, where he was just saying, hold your position. Like, that's that expectation, what makes it very clear for your team at the very start of it, was great from him. And you don't get to hear a lot about him going into the series, but man,
Ignar.
He has a huge impact.
Yeah, and here's that play I was talking about. I think Ignar is really good, again, at recognizing the roam timers he can have off of having a pushing bot.
And I wanted to talk about this because even though this was C9 trading back and being able to find this dive top lane, it was great on NRG to immediately recognize, they're like, okay, they're top side, we have push bot, immediately trade for Dragon. And so they started the Dragon stacking from that point forward.
And this man, Palafox, is the one that we were highlighting in the pre-show for a reason. We said if they're going to upset, it's going to be because of him. And this 2v1 in the bot side, of course, Contracts does come in on the tail end of it, but this is what kind of blew the game open. It did feel like maybe C9 can recover a little bit from here, but once he was able to get these plays going, it felt all over.
Yeah.
And I was wanting to say, this composition is so disgusting.
Yeah.
It's a little gross.
Yeah.
Ivern, 3 of these champions?
Yeah, well, I think it's just the Jace Kai'Sa because you get the poke, you get the AD AP split, and it's also been the comp that's won the first 2 games. But Palafox, Palafaker did actually run away with this game. This was the best Jace we've seen this series.
I actually love Ivern in these types of comps, and obviously we know Contracts is like more than willing to play it, partnered with either Jace or Tristana. We should add making NA Jace actually look good.
Yeah, he's wanted.
Yeah. Keep your eyes on this guy, right? I mean, especially as we just mentioned, this is the first punch that Cloud9 has really taken in the postseason, right? And it could just as well be the kind of energy and confidence that this squad needs to say, this is doable.
Yes.
This is doable.
This is a team that has challenged them in the regular season. And even though we saw during the upper bracket, they kind of fell flat, they learned a lot. And so this is one of those moments where everybody, coming into New Jersey, asking people, everybody said, We are praying that it is not a 3-0 finals. Please don't make it a 3-0 finals. They gave us a series.
Well, Cloud9 is going to hop back to blue side for game number 3. We'll get there in just a bit, as now we're heading for a quick break before game 3. But as we go, let's take a look behind the scenes at how Samsung powers the LCS with their NVMe 990 Pro SSDs, allowing our control room to cut seamlessly between different feeds to create an incredible show every week.
Hey, I'm Evan from the LCS broadcast team. During a live show, everything you see on screen has to flow through our control room. So we need fast, reliable drives with large storage sizes. That's why all of our PCs are upgraded with the Samsung NVMe SSD 990 Pro. Our show has more than 30 video feeds, and we're constantly cutting between different cameras, replays, and graphics. When we're live, the entire LCS broadcast depends on the machines in our control room, so we need drives that we can count on. The Samsung SSD 990 Pro gives us the peace of mind that the show will run without any hitches.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.
I think I definitely want to win as many trophies as possible. I think Devil holds the record with 8. Probably want to beat that at some point, you know. It's also a big stepping stone for C9's legacy because I think we're only a couple wins behind TSM. I've obviously only been on C9 my whole career, so basically C9's accomplishments I kind of view as my own as well.
EG wants to commit for the drink, but it goes over the wall, and Blabber steals it!
Bottom side game is in the works here. Ayla forced the flash already. Blabber with the Arctic Assault into flash to land the guaranteed knockup. Secures first blood for Cloud9.
Make sure to use LCS Summer for $10 off your order of $15 or more for new diners until the end of the split. Terms apply.
stop. No destination, but it's worth a shot.